Hello friends, today we are going to share with you some strange and unbelievable incidents about pit bulls. Stories that will make you wonder, surprise you, and maybe even change the way you think about this powerful dog breed. Pit bulls are often seen as aggressive, but these real-life events prove that they can also be loyal, brave, and truly extraordinary. So, let's begin our journey into the amazing world of pit bull stories. One of the strangest and most unbelievable incidents involving a pit bull happened in a small American town, where a family dog named Max became a local legend overnight, and the story still amazes people today because of how extraordinary it was. Max was an ordinary pit bull in appearance, muscular, loyal, and energetic, but what he did one summer evening changed the way many people thought about the breed. Because on that particular day a fire broke out in the family's old wooden house while everyone was asleep, and instead of panicking or running away, Max seemed to instantly understand the danger and rushed into action, first barking loudly and scratching at the bedroom doors until the children woke up. Then grabbing the youngest child by the sleeve of his pajamas and pulling him toward the stairs while smoke was filling the hallway, and when the mother collapsed halfway down due to the heavy smoke, Max circled back, nudging her with his head, tugging at her clothes with his teeth, and refusing to let her lose consciousness, until finally the family stumbled out into the backyard coughing but alive. But that was not the end of the strangeness, because when firefighters arrived, neighbors shouted that a baby was still inside, and without hesitation Max, who was already exhausted and covered in soot, darted back into the burning house, navigating through flames and smoke as if guided by instinct. And moments later emerged carrying the baby in his mouth by the blanket, setting the child gently on the grass before collapsing himself. Miraculously he survived with only minor burns, and local media covered the story calling him the miracle pitbull, with animal behaviorists baffled at how a dog could demonstrate such precise decision-making, courage, and determination under extreme stress, while some residents even claimed that Max seemed to know what each family member needed at the exact moment, as if his mind worked like a trained firefighter's, even though he had never received rescue training of any kind. And over the years the tale of Max spread beyond the town, used in magazines, documentaries, and online debates to challenge the stereotype that pit bulls are only aggressive or dangerous, because this one event showed that they can also be heroes with a unique sense of loyalty and intelligence that sometimes defies logic. And even today when people visit that town, locals still tell the incredible story of how a single pit bull faced fire, fear, and impossible odds, and emerged as a living legend whose courage turned him from an ordinary pet into a symbol of bravery for the entire community. In this story we will tell you about a pit bull named Rocky, and how he became a hero during a deadly winter storm, how he searched through the blizzard to find his injured master, how he kept him awake when he was close to losing consciousness, how he tried with all his strength to pull him out of danger, and finally how he ran back and forth barking until neighbors followed him and rescue arrived. This unbelievable event will show you how a pit bull, often feared for its strength, can actually become the most loyal protector and lifesaver a person could ever have. In a small countryside town, there lived a pit bull named Rocky, and his story became so famous that people still talk about it today because of how unusual and extraordinary it was. Rocky belonged to a farmer who lived alone on the edge of a forest, and while most people feared pit bulls because of their strength and reputation, the farmer treated Rocky like his best friend and trusted him more than anyone else. And for years Rocky proved his loyalty by guarding the farm, watching over the animals, and even accompanying the farmer on long trips through the woods. But one winter night something happened that changed everything and turned Rocky into a living legend. That night a heavy snowstorm covered the entire area. The farmer went out to check on his animals, and on his way back he slipped on the frozen path, fell into a deep ditch, and broke his legs so badly that he could not move. It was freezing cold, snow kept falling, and there was no one around for miles, so the farmer shouted for help but only the howling wind answered back, and he realized that if no one found him soon he might not survive the night. Rocky, who had been left behind at the farmhouse, sensed that something was wrong and came running through the storm, barking loudly, sliding on the ice, and finally finding his master lying helpless in the ditch. And what the pit bull did next shocked everyone who later heard the story. Instead of panicking, Rocky jumped into the ditch, licked the farmer's face to keep him awake, and then tried to pull him out by tugging on his coat with his powerful jaws. When that failed, Rocky climbed out, ran back toward the farmhouse, and began barking non-stop at the door until the farmer's neighbor, who lived more than half a mile away, heard the distant cries. The neighbor at first ignored it, thinking it was just an ordinary dog barking in the storm, but Rocky refused to give up, running back and forth between the ditch and the farmhouse, barking louder each time, until finally the neighbor followed him into the woods, where he discovered the injured farmer nearly unconscious. The neighbor immediately called for help, and soon rescue workers arrived, but even then Rocky refused to leave his master's side, growling at anyone who came too close until he realized they were helping, after which he sat quietly but firmly beside the farmer, as if supervising the rescue. The farmer was taken to the hospital and survived only because Rocky had not only located him but also kept him awake and warm long enough to be saved. And doctors later said that if the dog had not been there, the farmer would surely have frozen to death before morning. This unbelievable event spread throughout the town, newspapers wrote about it, television channels picked it up, and Rocky was awarded a medal for bravery usually reserved for service dogs, even though he had never received any special training. People who once feared pit bulls began visiting the farmer just to meet Rocky, and many admitted that their opinion about the breed had changed forever after hearing the story. Some animal experts even commented that Rocky's behavior showed a mix of instinct, intelligence, and emotional understanding that went far beyond what most dogs display. Almost as if he truly knew he was saving a human life. To this day, the story of Rocky the Pitbull remains a reminder that sometimes the most unlikely heroes come in the form of those we least expect, and that beneath the muscular body and fierce reputation, a pitbull can carry a heart full of loyalty, courage, and love strong enough to defeat even the coldest winter storm. In this incredible story, a pitbull named Shadow turned into a true hero when his family's car crashed into a ditch, trapping everyone inside. Instead of staying helpless, Shadow squeezed out of the wreckage through a broken window, ran several miles back to the house in the freezing night, barked and scratched until the grandfather opened the door, then pulled at his sleeve and guided him all the way back to the accident site, where rescue services were finally called, and thanks to Shadow's determination and intelligence, the entire family was saved from what could have been a deadly tragedy. This unbelievable pitbull story is about a dog named Shadow, who shocked an entire neighborhood with his bravery. One evening, while his family was driving home, their car was struck by another vehicle and rolled into a ditch, trapping the parents inside and leaving their young daughter unconscious in the back seat, and as the cold night grew darker, Shadow managed to crawl out of the wreckage through a broken window, ran several miles back to the family's house, and began scratching and barking wildly at the door until the grandfather opened it, at first confused but then realizing something terrible must have happened. Without wasting a second, Shadow tugged at his sleeve and ran ahead, stopping again and again to make sure the old man was following, leading him all the way back to the crash site, where emergency services were finally called, saving the entire family. Later firefighters admitted that if Shadow had not covered that distance and raised the alarm, the family would not have survived the freezing night, and this event turned Shadow into a local legend, a pit bull once judged only for his strength, but forever remembered for his loyalty, intelligence, and the courage to run